Now, balloting for spots on the ballot paper in the NPP flag bearer elections has been postponed. This follows an inconclusive meeting between the Elections Committee and the 4 aspirants. Now, the parties failed to agree on proposed guidelines for the elections slated for November 4th. Spokesperson for the Elections Committee, Alexander Afenyomarkin, said they hope to resolve the issues for balloting to be conducted.
We have also received the withdrawal letter officially by Honorable Kyerematen, and the party has accepted the withdrawal without prejudice. At this point, we as a committee would like to again remind all party members that this is an internal contest. There is no loser, there is no winner. We need to put our house in order to face the NDC come 2024. So we would urge party members to help their own party by way of their conduct. So far, those who have concerns have brought the concerns to us. Mr. Kyerematen, for the time being, hasn't said he's not a member of the party. He hasn't said so. So now that we've received his withdrawal letter, we will now wait for him to bring us some additional information, if he so desires, to furnish us with additional information regarding some of the concerns that he has raised. So we are waiting.
Would you request for that? Would he be replaced? Because you need 5.
No, the Constitution hasn't said so. If somebody
just for purpose of clarity here.
You said you agreed with the Electoral Commission on some decisions going to November.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
What is it?
I didn't say that. You pay attention to me. You are.
Alan Kyerematen.
What I said was that.
Now, Mr. Afenyomarkin also indicated that the committee has received Alan Kyerematen's withdrawal letter and has accepted it. However, they are expecting him to furnish the committee with additional information on his concerns.
In the discussions today with EC and aspirants and their reps, we deliberated on some proposals aimed at incorporating same in the guidelines.
Can you share these proposals with us?
When we are done with everything, we'll make known to you in full the guidelines for the November 4th elections, like we did previously in the superdelegate process. We shared the guidelines with you, okay? So again, we assure you, that's why you're here. We don't want to waste your time. We don't want you to come and not get any information. It's part of the bona fides of democracy to work with the media, and we will continue to share relevant information with you. We have agreed to proceed with the guidelines, and like I said, when we are done, would again serve you notice of the guidelines, and soon thereafter we'll proceed with the ballot.
Away from the NPP, former President John Mahama is demanding the Electoral Commission publish names, pictures of persons recruited to undertake the upcoming limited voter registration exercise. Further, he wants the EC to disclose the number of workstations deployed for the exercise.
Registering and acquiring a voter ID card to vote in the December 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections is not just a basic civic duty, it is an obligation. As a people, our starting point to effect real change in our country is to register and vote. You and I have a collective responsibility to use our votes wisely to hold our leaders accountable and demand the change we desperately need. Your vote in 2024 will symbolize your desire for a better Ghana, a determination to overcome the challenges we face, and your commitment to help build the Ghana we want together.
Now, the NPP MP for Doma East, Paul Chomberima, is taking on former President John Mahama for saying he will appoint NDC lawyers to become judges. His comment comes after John Mahama accused President Akufo-Addo of packing the judiciary with NPP-aligned charges. While speaking to journalists in Parliament, the Doma East legislator warned that the former president should not entertain any of that.
I strongly believe that I disagree with the former president on his assertion that we've packed NPP lawyers. I think the judiciary has been appointed based on competency and qualifications, and I'm confident that everybody that has been appointed to the bar or to the bench is qualified, and I strongly believe that it shouldn't have been so. Clearly, I mean, personally, I don't focus on whether it's coming from whether former president or whoever is coming from. I think it's important. It's about time we focus on our institutions and build them. We don't need to bastardize our institutions and come back and think that they don't have the credibility that we need. It can't be. Whether NPP or NDC. Today NPP said this institution is not good. Tomorrow NDC say, and then we come back and say that we want to see these institutions working. How would they work? Clearly, I mean, former president worked with some of the judges that are there. I mean, I'm sure he appointed some few ones, but we are working with them. So, assuming if MPP decides to bastardize those judges and come here and you want to find, if you go to them, you think that you find a confidence in them, I think we need to take our politics out of certain institutions of this country. Certain aspects of this country must be protected. The sanctity of the judiciary must be protected. The Electoral Commission must be protected. The security sector must be protected. We should not take our political activities to those areas. It will not help us. We must focus on building these institutions, making them stronger. We cannot, as a country, continue to decide one party comes, hey, this institution is blah, 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 then another party comes, this institution, and then you come back and tell us that why you have confidence in this constitution. And you know what? The challenge is that when these institutions, at a point, when they become frustrated and they are failing, we say they are not working. But when we vilify them, we've rendered them, I mean, non-existent.
According to Paul Chomberima, the qualification of the persons appointed by President Akufo-Addo to be judges should be considered and not their political leanings.
In the UK, there was a situation like that where a government appointed someone into, I think, the judiciary or so, but the person, I mean, handled the case, that is, went against them. It doesn't matter. That is why I'm saying that it doesn't matter who you put there. If you have strengthened the institution, immediately you get there, automatically the institution will sanitize you. But when we decide to position this NDC, this MPP, this party A, this party B, immediately the person gets there, the person will not feel like, oh, I have to work for these people because... But we don't need to do that. Why should we continue doing that? We should make the institutions stronger. Let them stand on their own. When they are on their own, immediately you are put, even if you are the former whatever, when immediately you are put in that system, the system will purge you of everything. And that's what we need to do.
Let's now take you to the Ashanti region, where the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, KMA, has asked traders occupying a weak commercial building in the central business district of Edom to vacate immediately. Structural investigations conducted by KMA on the building indicate weakened concrete and exposed tensile support, which are key to the building's stability, despite replastering and painting. The Assembly has given tenants 5 days ultimatum to vacate the building for demolition. Nana Boachi Iyadom joined the inspection of the structure and has filed the following report.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, after conducting an investigation on the two-story building located at the Central Business District, concluded that the building is not fit for habitation. Most horizontal structural members are worn out, revealing rusted reinforcement and poorly exposed to the environment. The structure could fail to withstand certain stresses. Metropolitan Chief Executive Samuel Pine says after its structural investigation, it has identified that the building is defective and inappropriate for occupation.
The building right behind us is a very defective building. When they started development, it came to the notice of the Special Planning Committee, and we commissioned our officers to do some tests on it. Apart from that, the owner of the property also commissioned some structure. The report suggests that yes, it's a very defective building which can collapse at any time.
Tenants have been asked to vacate the structure ahead of a planned demolition exercise.
To the occupants of the shops last Bay, and they're still not back in, and therefore we came here today to give them a final warning, and that from Monday, if they've not moved out, we're going to barricade the place and make sure we don't experience any catastrophe. Some of them are willing, some are, the usual Ghanaian attitude that recalcitrant, but when we start enforcing the decision of the committee, then they will understand the enormity of that issue.
Head of the Physical Planning Department of the KMA, Ajinim Boating, says with any little pressure from occupants, the building could collapse.
The building is defective, and with little stress, it can collapse. When I say little stress, I hope you understand, with little stress, with little pressure, the building can collapse. This came to our attention when we saw the applicant doing some renovations on the building. Our officers came to site. We impressed on him to submit his drawings. He submitted the drawings. We came to site to check. The metro engineer investigated the building and came to the conclusion that the building is defective and it's not fit for purpose. The best the owner can do is to demolish and raise up a new building or develop new building. But he didn't mind us, so we asked him to go and get his own engineers to do the same investigation. He said his engineers, whom he paid, came with the same results, that the building is defective and with little stress it will collapse.
Traders occupying the building and others plying their goods on pavements have been asked to vacate.
This is supposed to be a car parking lot.
Engineers from the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly have determined that per their structure investigation, which involves a visual inspection and a minimal non-destructive test, this building right behind me is weak. They have said that per some of the investigations carried out, columns and beams here are not clearly positioned. They've asked tenants occupying this building to vacate the structure within 5 days. From Kumasi, my name is Nana Boachidankwa Yadom, reporting.
Now, residents of Kalio and other surrounding communities in the Nadoli-Kalio district are concerned they could cut off from the rest of the region if the government delays in coming to their aid. Portions of the road was washed away by floodwaters 2 years ago. The Nadoli Highway that passes through the community also links 8 municipalities and districts in the region and was nearly washed off following last Saturday's heavy downpour.
The One Nadoli Highway links 8 municipalities and districts in the region from Wa to their various capitals. Simple put, the lives and survival of the people largely hinges on the highway, and it was threatened last Saturday by heavy downpour. Assembly member for Kalio East Electoral Area, Christian Nengpen, explained further.
The rain started somewhere around 11 to 12 thereabout in the night, and it rained for over 3 hours. So when we woke up, we realized that part of what the highway trunk has been washed off due to what the downpour that happened in the community. Typically, you can see that parts of the road has been chopped off or has been washed off, and it has affected some portions of what irrigable land that we use to do irrigation for what other agricultural purposes.
Behind me is one of the farms that was completely destroyed by the downpour. I'm wondering how the farmers will be able to have access to the farms because the whole area is inundated with water. several acres of farms and produce got submerged and completely destroyed by the heavy downpour. Owners of the farms look on helplessly.
So as we speak currently, people who use to farm there, their crops or their plants have been washed away. So they have nothing on the land again.
They have fears that they could be cut off from the rest of the region if the road is not fixed before the next heavy rain.
It is a rain that they haven't seen for years. And as a result of that, over 50-meter stretch of the road has completely been destroyed. The Upper West Regional Minister in the company of some officials of the Ghana Highways Authority were here to see things for themselves.
Acting Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Highways Authority, Engineer Benjamin Atta, conducted the minister and his entourage round portions of the road considered to be a death trap.
Couldn't contain the water. So if the pressure that comes with it, when it drops, the intensity is high, so it washes the edges. I think the intensity is very high. There was some pitching that was done to take care of, but unfortunately, because of the high intensity, so it was able to wash the things out.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Salih disclosed that the project will be awarded to 3 contractors for execution.
By the close of this week, the contractors will be on site. But in the meantime, we would employ on the Ghana Police Service to ensure that people comply with the markings that we have put here, so that we don't endanger the lives of motorists as well as pedestrians.
Dr. Bin Salih also used the opportunity to assure the public that the Serekere Nadula Highway that was destroyed by floods 2 years ago have not been abandoned but will be permanently fixed by Chinese contractors.
Plans are far advanced for work to commence on 26 kilometers of this portion of the route.
Reporting for the news, Rafiq Salam, Keleo.
Now moving on, as Ghana grapples with pressing economic challenges, the spotlight has been intensified on the remuneration of Article 71 office holders. The president comment on what we usually call ex gratia reflect the growing public discourse on whether the current compensation aligns with our constitutional imperatives and economic realities. Join us, Kofi Ajay has more in the following report.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has called on the newly inaugurated Emolument Committee, actually chaired by Dr. Janet Fofie, to focus on recent concerns raised by a section of the Ghanaian populace on whether or not Article 71 office holders are deserving of the ex gratia or monies and benefits paid to them as stipulated by the 1992 Constitution. The Emolument Committee, chaired by Dr. Janet Fofie, will be at least the 7th Emolument Committee whose work has always been to determine a thank you package and other remunerations for Article 71 office holders, including that of the President, his vice, ministers and members of Parliament. Joy News checks review the total number of Article 71 office holders on Ghana's payroll in 2016 was around 500. According to the previous committee chaired by Professor Ya Intiamu Abedu, they based on several factors including the economic circumstance, the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda, public sentiment, political climate, amongst others, to recommend that the monthly salary of the president be increased from the over 29,000 cedis in 2016 to over 47,000 cedis in 2020. As at 2016, the average salary of an Article 71 office holder was 18,211 cedis, and that of a single spine salary worker was around 1,128 cedis. The difference was in excess of 17,000 cedis. The various presidential committees on emoluments of Article 71 office holders subsequent to the Chinwe Hesse Committee have been careful in maintaining a balance between the emoluments of Article 71 office holders and the rest of the public. For example, the Erama Adi Committee in 2011 introduced the upward point system
providing relativities between Article 71 office holders and other workers on the single spine salary structure. However, in the process of approving the various emolument committee reports, the system is often disregarded, leading to the pay adjustment for Article 71 office holders that have worsened the inequalities. In simple terms, there have been significant upward reviews without recourse to the rigorous analysis that went into the proposals put together by the committees. In 2013, for instance, Article 71 office holders saw a collective increase of 43% in their salary, and for the remainder of the period covered by the Edu Buando Committee, the pay levels went up by 10% annually spanning 2014 and 2016. In the same periods, workers on the single spine were receiving wage awards below inflation, including a freeze on wage increase in 2014. They received a cost of living allowance known as COLA instead. The cumulative effect of these differential adjustments was that while Article 71 salaries saw increases, wages of workers on single spine, including nurses and teachers, experienced declines in real terms.
This time, Labour will be watching and is likely to base their future demands depending on the recommendations made by the current Emolument Committee chaired by Dr. Janet Fofie. Isaac Ofeje, Joy News.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Now, as Ghana prepares for another round of debt exchange with its external creditors, former Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu is warning that the operation will scare away investors, leading to stalled projects across the country. Now, investor confidence is at an all-time low on the bonds market following the domestic debt operation. Former Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu believes the situation will be worse with international investors if government restructures its debt with external creditors. There's more in the following report.
In the midst of economic challenges, Ghana turned to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, for a bailout of $3 billion. Before securing the deal, Ghana was required to undertake both domestic and external debt restructuring programs to alleviate the mounting debt service burden on its economy. The nation initiated a domestic debt restructuring program with an 85% participation rate, as reported by the Finance Ministry. The initiative resulted in debt savings amounting to 34 billion Ghana cedis. Additionally, Ghana obtained approval from its external creditors to embark on an external debt restructuring. This approval was instrumental in securing the much-needed IMF bailout, which was granted on the 17th of May 2023. Ghana is currently targeting $10.5 billion of external debt service relief from 2023 to 2026. This translates to a potential haircut of 35 to 40% for creditors, signaling the magnitude of the challenge faced by investors in the impending debt overhaul. The former Minority Leader and Member of Parliament for Tamale South, Haruna Iddrisu, has raised concerns about how these measures could impact project financing in the Ghanaian economy.
Understandably, government is seeking to restructure its external debt, and probably external debt holders may be compelled to accept a haircut of up to 35%, but certainly not less. With interest service, which is between 11 to 14 billion US dollars, deferred until after the conclusion of the IMF program in 3 years. That will mean that project financing will suffer. Projects that are being financed with loans will come to a standstill, if not complete termination of those projects, and that will come at a cost to the state and the Republic of Ghana.
The MP believes that government's inability to complete the domestic debt restructuring of a reliance on short-term borrowing and high cost of treasury bill could be detrimental to the progress made with the IMF deal.
I'm concerned primarily about government's inability to conclude the domestic exchange debt restructuring, which will come as a consequence to the future management of the economy and to our future quest to achieve stability and halt and stabilize the depreciation of the city and grow the economy. The private sector of Ghana is almost gone. Many of them may not be able to speak out. The cost of doing business and the cost of borrowing and the costs of doing everything in Ghana is unacceptably the highest in the sub-region. My worry now is government's over-reliance on short-term borrowing at short-term high cost in treasury bills, which is the next bust for the economy of Ghana.
Ghana's total external debt currently stands at $30.5 billion. Of this, $20 billion is eligible for external debt restructuring. The eligible amount comprises $5.4 billion from bilateral official creditors, while external bondholders account for $14.6 billion.
Now, a 26-year-old man has been arrested for posing as a medical practitioner at the Comfort Anoche Teaching Hospital in Kumasi. William Sere Cohen, who was seen lurking around the hospital, is alleged to have been operating under the guise of a doctor of medicine to admit patients and administer drugs. There's more in the following report.
The suspected fake doctor was arrested on Monday, September 4th, while in the process of attending to a patient who had been admitted at the emergency ward. When approached by a senior medical officer, the suspect allegedly became jittery and attempted escaping, but was apprehended by the hospital security. In a video circulating on social media, the suspect is seen wearing a ward uniform while being hauled by the hospital security, who later handed him over to the police.
Where are you from? Yes,
The hospital has indicated that the suspect was accosted on the walkway behind the Accident and Emergency Center after his responses to questions about his identity and purpose at the hospital proved unsatisfactory. The suspect also had the name Dr. William Sere Cohen written on the scrub dress he was wearing. It is said that when a doctor questioned his identity and where he worked, his response was that he was only passing through the hospital to give something to somebody and quickly started to move away. Meanwhile, the management of the Comfort Anoche Teaching Hospital has described as false the claims that the young man who was arrested at the hospital and handed over to the police for passing himself off as a doctor had attended to patients at their facility. Management further cautioned members of the public against dealing with anybody outside the accredited service points at the hospital. The hospital is, however, working with the police to investigate the matter. Reporting for Joy News, Nana Boatankwayadom, Kumasi.
Now, over 40,000 young people between the ages of 15 and 24 are living with HIV in Ghana. According to the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Dr. Tremetua Hene, out of an increasing figure of 355,000 Ghanaians living with the virus since the first case was recorded, 11% are youth. He was speaking at the Joy Christian Forum dubbed Chastity and Morality. How are the youth staying chaste in today's world?
Have about 355,000 people living with HIV in the country. And these are the people who have been fortunate to live with HIV since the time the first case was found in Ghana. And so it's a cumulative figure of 40,500 young people aged 15 to 24 live with HIV, and that represents 11% of the total number of people living with HIV. But when we talk about HIV, the most important thing we always focus on is new infections, because the more people get newly infected, it means we add on to the existing number. So if, for example, by the end of this year, 16,000 people get HIV, it will add on to make it what? 371,000 or something like that. Okay, and so we want to reduce new infections, and now our target is to reduce new infections by 17% every year.
And is that possible, looking at how far?
Yes, it's very, very possible, but we are not able to. In fact, between 2021 and 2022, we were only able to reduce it by 8%, which means we are short of, let's say, 9%.
Now, in an effort to minimize the high rate of graduate unemployment and ensure good leadership, the Emerging Public Leaders, EPL, has set a pace to ensure the developing program of high-achieving young graduates who have demonstrated a clear interest and commitment to transforming the public sector and policy influencing organization. Speaking at the Thanksgiving service of the 5th anniversary of Emerging Public Leaders, Country Director Juliet Adime Amoah says her outfit is committed to ensuring we have change makers in our society. There's more in the following report.
Public Leaders of Ghana is a 2-year fellowship that equips high-achieving university graduates with transferable leadership skills to effect change into the public sector and beyond. In light of this, an opportunity has been given to top-performing graduate and young professionals to join the public service, which will help minimize graduate unemployment. Country Director of EPL Ghana, Juliet Adime Amoah, revealed the fellowship does not seek to minimize graduate employment, but to ensure that cohorts from the Emerging Public Leaders Fellowships are groomed from their prime to be ready for the job market, to ensure they bring new ideas into the public sector and deliver on the expectations of the job market.
The short term, you see that impact in the lives of the young people that we have given job opportunities to. You see that impact in the way that they are growing and coming into their own and holding spaces that ordinarily by themselves they wouldn't be able to enter into. So that's the short-term impact. In the medium term, what we have seen across government sectors and across government ministries where we have placed these young people, you will start to see that they have started to bring in a new dimension of work and productivity. They've started to look at how do we do things more efficiently using the technology and the plethora of information that exists for young people, and overall the energies that younger people have, the passions, the newer ideas that they have. So in the medium term, you find that that's what we're starting to see. In the long term, we are hoping that in the next decade, we will begin to see younger people who are in influential positions, directors, if you like, within the ministries, within public service organizations, who are not necessarily doing government work directly, but are in the parastatal environment and helping the agencies along. Right. And so that's what we would like to see, and that's the kind of impact that we have started to see and have actually started to measure as well.
An alumnus of the EPL Fellowship, Irene Osei-Bonsu, stated how the fellowship has emerged as a beacon of change in her journey after school.
It's been life-changing. When I started, I was very meek and not confident at all. EPL's orientation program just resets my mindset and then made me more confident. And the continuous training and engagement with my other fellows and partners, mentors, has just changed my life, and I know I'm also making an impact in the office that I am in.
A member of the 5th cohort, Lawrence Nikwe, revealed his expectations of being part of the leadership program.
I think what stood out for me is the word leaders at the end. Personally, I've always been driven to just make an impact that lives beyond me, and that has been the driving factor for me joining just an organization where you get to have larger impact, or an impact that goes beyond yourself. And then also the idea of a fellowship, and not simply an organization where you just go, again, like I mentioned, where it's like a recruitment agency. So a fellowship where you get some training, you get to be part of a family, get to be part of a network of people that are also like-minded, trying to make an impact both in the country and then by extension in the rest of the world. And so that was the driving factor, those two things, that there's leadership element in there, and then there's the idea of a family, a community where you can learn from each other and then be able to implement whatever we learn.
it is expected that in the near future, the Emerging Public Leaders Fellowship will work more closely with civil servants, public service, parastatals, and civil society organizations. For Joy News, Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
We take a break. We'll return with Showbiz. Stay with us. Welcome back. I have in studio Becky Beggs to give us all the showbiz stories. What do we have?
I love your voice.
Thank you.
All right. I'm just crashing on, But let's move on. Let's talk about the movie industry, Carlos. Because Nikki Simonas, I had a conversation with her, and he's been telling me all about how the sector hasn't slowed down. There's been conversation that the movie industry, isn't doing too well these days. But Nikki says, no, there are a lot of things that they're up to.
Every single time music is in the news, but we don't see movies in the news every time. Why is that?
Because it's simple. Music is noisy. Music is everywhere. Music is not. Movies is not as loud as music. And music flows. Music is water. Movie is fire. Movie is earth. That's how I see it. And obviously, music is going to be making a lot of noise, or a lot of people are going to know about it more than movies. Every now and then, when a movie be able to make a crap, music is constant and it's wavy. I think that's why it's like that.
I agree with people or the words on the streets that the movie industry has slowed down a bit.
Huh? How? No. Since when? No. Right now, the movie is up. I mean, it dipped really hard after COVID. In fact, after COVID, it went really, because it was difficult for us to come back up. But now, with a lot of corporate investments and investors, especially like Papa Magic the other day, and a lot of, like I said, corporate investors coming in and coming on board, because now we are used to the digitization of marketing movies. For me, I think it's picked up tremendously.
Away from Nikki, let's talk about Episode. He's been talking about the highlight music genre. He said that the genre is the sound for the future. It's the sound of the future. And so we should stop, going about and saying that Afrobeats is the sound. Let's concentrate on highlight music.
That is where the world has got into. They've grabbed onto Afrobeat. But I want to say that High Life is the sound of the future. Because what I say is, there's a whole 5 decades of a catalog, a Ghanaian catalog before Afrobeat, which we've not touched yet. If Ghana has close to 600 rhythms, we've not scratched the surface yet. So I believe that High Life is the sound of the future. And some of us are proud. I'm not saying that this year I'm the only person to do it. World best!
We'll come to World Best really shortly.
Episode, one of the finest, and listen, I'm saying it, one of the best dancehall artists in the world.
Hear that? World Best!
All right.
I think we'll just end that, endorsement note.
Right? You don't know, mad. Fully endorsed.
So American actor Joe Jonas, he's actually a musician, Joe Jonas, he has filed for divorce from his wife of 4 years. ET Entertainment has the rest of the story. Well, on that note, we end Showbiz here on Joy News Prime. Carlos,
yeah.
For more news,
log on to myjoyonline.com.